Hi, I'm Chef Valerie Bolon. Many of you may recognize me from season 4 of Top Chef Chicago. And I'm here today at Zulo's Kitchen in Westtown. And we're going to make some delicious food for our brand new launch of our website, uberchefs.com. So the first thing I'm going to make for you today is a roasted beet and avocado salad. So the first thing we need to do is take some beets. We're going to show you how to roast them. So what I like to do is take a nice red round beet, take my beet, I'm going to place it in a nice tray here. So I'm going to take some oil, I'm going to get it nice coated with some oil so we can roll it around here. I'm going to take some salt, coat it with our salt, wrap it up. I'm going to place the beets in the oven at 375 degrees for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, until the beets become fork tender. Once our beets are done, I'm going to take the beet and I'm just going to use a regular standard potato peeler. I'm just going to peel the skin right off. So I'm going to take my roasted beet and I'm going to dice it really small. So the idea is that we're trying to get the beets really nice and small. So the smaller the beet is, the more elegant it's going to look, and it's going to look very refined once we pack it into a mold. Okay, so we've got these beautiful small diced beets. We're going to add a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar to our beets, and a little bit of salt, pinch of salt, as they always say. Take a nice spoon and just stir that, or give it a stir, and sort of let these beets marinate with these flavors just for a few minutes. All right, maybe we'll throw a little olive oil in there just to let them sit. I'm going to take a shallot. So I'm going to peel the outside of the shallot. And once again, we're going to take this shallot, slice it really small. So I'm just going to go over this shallot really thin. Take my shallot, throw it right in there with my beets. Give that a little stir, and we're going to set that aside for just a minute. So the next thing we want to do is make our avocado salad. Same thing that we just did with the beets with the avocado. So I'm going to slice it nice and thin, really small pieces. So the smaller that you can cut your food, the more elegant it actually looks. So I slice it lengthwise, turn the avocado, slice it lengthwise again. So we've got our beautiful avocado. So once again, we're going to make a little avocado salad here. So same principles that we used for the beets. This time we're going to use a little rice vinegar. So we're just going to use a little bit because we don't want the food to be super acidic. Just a little bit of flavor. So same thing, about a teaspoon of rice vinegar, about a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to give it a nice little turn. Pinch of salt, once again. And then we're going to just mix that up and let that sit. The next thing we're going to do is actually make some crispy fried shallots. I'm just going to take shallot, slice it really thin. I'm going to take these shallots, place them in a bowl here, and we're just going to fry them in a little bit of canola oil. So I'm going to throw my shallots right in the oil. Like I said, just for a few seconds. They're going to start to turn this nice, beautiful golden brown color. I'm going to pull the shallots out, place them directly on your paper towel. So we've got our shallots draining nicely here. Give it a little sprinkle of salt. Get these beautiful big, large basil leaves. Stack them on top of each other. I'm going to take them, and I'm actually going to roll them up, place them on my cutting board, come by with my knife, and begin to slice them in really thin strips. So I take a beautiful plate. I'm going to take a nice round ring mold. You can use any size, any shape. Place it right in the center of the plate. Now I'm just going to place these right in the center of my mold. So we scoop these in. I'm going to pack the beets down firmly. Not too firmly so that the juice spills out of the bottom, but just enough so that it's going to stay put when we lift the mold. Now I'm going to take my avocado. I'm going to do the same thing. Right, so I'm going to place the avocado right on just on top. Make a nice little avocado tower here. Good. And once you're all set, just remove the ring mold. Sprinkle our basil around the sides of the plate. And of course, our crispy shallots. And for just a final touch, I like to take a little bit of the balsamic and just give it a little splash on the plate. Right? And voila, as they say, right? We've got this beautiful, simple, elegant dish that's completely plant-based, super easy, delicious, tasty, 5 ingredients. And there you have it. So the next dish I'm going to make for you guys is a Thai coconut curry noodle dish. So the first thing I want to do is get my water boiling. So I've got my water boiling on the stove, as you can hear it crackling. So I'm going to take my noodles and I'm going to drop them in. So these are just Japanese noodles. You can use any kind of noodles you want for this dish. Take a handful of the noodles, throw them right in the pot of boiling water. So while that's cooking, we're going to get started and do our chopping. So I'm going to start with an onion. Peel the skin. So this is basically a local favorite in Thailand. It's kind of just like a local stir-fry dish. So it's a great way to utilize leftovers. So I'm dicing this onion really small. Beautiful. And set that aside. Take a nice piece of fresh ginger root. You always want to try to use fresh ingredients whenever possible. Obviously they have more nutritional value, of course. Ginger is very, very powerful and potent and strong. So you don't need a lot of ginger to make it taste good. So you're just going to give it a nice little mince. Once again, so the smaller you can cut this, give it a mince, you're going to get all that beautiful ginger flavor released into the dish. So we've got our ginger minced, and we're going to throw it just on top of the onion. It's all going to go in the same pan together, so we can just stack it right on top. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a mushroom, nice portobello mushroom. So just give your mushroom a nice slice. So you can leave it in slices, you can dice it up. I'm going to dice it up today. So the next ingredient I like to use is the sweet potato. So we're going to take the sweet potato, give it a nice peel, try to slice it, maybe about a half a sweet potato. I'm going to try to slice it into nice small bits. So I slice it straight down to start, lay it flat on its side, and just come across and give it some nice strips. So we're going to add a little tomato. Tomato brings acidity to a dish, along with flavor, of course. So I'm going to slice this up. So we're going to check our noodles really quick. They're probably about done. Definitely done. The noodles are going to tend to stick together if you just leave them in a pot or in a container like that. So we're going to put a little oil on it. A little fat helps to relieve the starchiness of the noodle. So while we let that sit, we're going to create our sauce now. I'm going to take a nice ripe mango. And I like to take my knife really close to the surface of the skin and just glide my knife down that skin to release the flesh. So you can certainly take a knife, and if your mango is really ripe, the skin comes right off. I barely even have to do anything. So from here, we need to cut the skin off, the flesh off of the pit. So I'm going to take my knife, run it straight down. So you've got to kind of feel around, kind of find for that pit. Just slice your way around it. So we're slicing our mangoes nice and thin. Really easy. Once again, I'm going to slice it into a nice dice. Just top it right on top. Turn the heat on high. Get the pan nice and hot. Grab some olive oil, throw it right in the pan. So you can see the pan is nice and hot. The steam actually literally rises from the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my vegetables in here. So I'm going to start with my sweet potatoes. Put around nice and golden. Now we're ready to add our onions and our ginger. Put right in the pan. Once again, give it a nice stir. So just want the heat on high at the beginning to get the pan really hot. Get that nice brown caramelization. Once the pan is hot, then we turn the heat down so that the food doesn't burn. Add our tomatoes right to that pan. Hear that sizzle? So I've got my tomatoes in there. One of the important ingredients in this dish is the curry. Now this is a Thai curry. I'm gonna add this to the dish. So you don't need a lot. Tablespoon is plenty. So we just add a little bit. Teaspoon maybe. Give it a toss. Let those vegetables really absorb the flavor of the curry. Now we can add the mango. And last but not least, we're gonna add our coconut milk. I'm gonna pour it in. So we're gonna do one more thing before we plate our dish, and we're just gonna add some fresh basil. So basil is another one of those ingredients that is used in everything in Thailand, and is widely grown over in that part of the world. So we're just gonna chop up some fresh basil here. So now we're ready to plate. So I'm gonna take my bowl, take my noodles. If my noodles are still hot, I'm just gonna place them directly right into the bowl. Pour it directly over. And of course, last but not least, top it with our fresh basil. And there you have it, a super simple, easy recipe that can be done in about 10 minutes. Absolutely fantastic. So there you have it, enjoy. So we're gonna make our own homemade toasted granola. So toasted granola, super easy and simple. You take some rolled oats, pour them in a bowl, right? So granola is one of those things that you can be creative with, make it your own. Throw whatever flavors that you like, throw it into that bowl. Experiment with it, try it out, see if it works. So we're gonna take a little bit of brown sugar. So we've gotta have a little bit of sweetness to it. But for me, I like to take dried fruit. Dried fruit is always a component in granola for me. So here we've got some dried cranberries, but sometimes I use dried cherries, or dried blueberries, or even dried apricots. Anything dried. Once again, we're trying to create a nice balanced texture and flavor. So another way that I like to make this dish creative is to add an element of sweet. So this is maybe something fun to add some butterscotch chips. So about a spoonful of butterscotch chips. You can certainly leave that out if you want it a little healthier. Or you can add chocolate chips or peanut butter chips even. Why not, right? We're gonna take a little bit of agave. We're gonna pour a little bit of this agave in. So this agave is going to, of course, give it sweetness, but it's also going to give it its texture. So when we eat granola, we know that it's kind of these clumpy pieces that stick together of crunchy goodness. So that agave syrup is really gonna help to create texture. So for me, I like to always add a little element of savory into my sweet and sweet into my savory. So since we're making something sweet, I'm gonna add some dried herbs. So a little bit of dried thyme. Dried rosemary is also a really delicious herb that you can add that will enhance it and give it kind of a unique flavor. And a little bit of ground cinnamon. Can't have granola without cinnamon, in my opinion. And last but not least, a little bit of salt. Put salt in everything. Just a little bit of salt. Salt is what's gonna help to release the flavors of all of the ingredients together. So we mix it up. And if you're making this with your kids or whoever, use your hands. Just kind of toss it around. Cooking is fun, right? We wanna use our hands. I like to use my hands. Super easy, that's all it is. Like I said, you can put anything in there you want. You could throw nuts in there, almonds, pecans. If you're allergic to nuts, then you leave the nuts out. Take it and you throw it right on a sheet tray. Give it a little shake, spread it out. I'm gonna toss it right in the oven at about 375 degrees for about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. I'm gonna give it a toss every few minutes. We're gonna give it a nice toss until it's nice and golden brown. Pull it out of the oven, boom, it's ready to eat. That simple. So we just pulled the granola out of the oven, and you can see it's got nice clumps of golden brown yumminess. So, of course, I'm gonna taste it to make sure it's delicious. Super delicious, tons of flavor, nice and crunchy. A great thing to pair this granola with is to make a nice fresh sorbet. It's summertime, it's warm. Everybody loves sorbet in the summer. So we're gonna actually make a coconut milk sorbet, and you can go to uberchefs.com for the recipe, but sorbet is really very simple. So I took some coconut milk, added a little bit of sugar to it, put it in an ice cream machine, churned it for about 30 minutes, and put it in the freezer. Super, super simple. And voila, we've got our nice coconut sorbet. So I'm gonna plate this. We're gonna take a couple of scoops, plate it in our bowl here. A few beautiful little scoops. Plate it in the bowl. And then top it with our granola. And there you go. Really fun, easy summertime dish to make.